The trouble didn't start in my garage. It started with the HOA deciding I was the problem. From the day I moved in, Miriam Cole, the self-appointed queen of the board, had a grudge the size of Texas. My lawn was trimmed, driveway spotless, flags folded sharp enough to cut glass. But what she hated most was my garage, or more specifically, what I kept in it. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. I'm an army commander by trade. Discipline and preparation are second nature to me. So when Miriam started sending her polite, passive-aggressive letters, please adjust exterior storage, and, reminder, community standards apply, I brushed it off as HOA nonsense. Then came the fines. A bogus parking ticket. A storage violation for a closed garage. And threats about unapproved items visible from the street. Each letter ended with the same veiled warning. We don't want trouble, but we can make things uncomfortable. I documented everything. Photos, dates, porch cam footage, logged and reported. Then it escalated. One morning, I found my windshield shattered, 2 tires slashed, and a note scrawled across the glass. Next time, we take more. The sheriff warned me, bullies escalate if unchecked. Neighbors whispered Miriam's name but kept their heads down. She likes to keep things tidy, one teacher muttered, the kind of phrase people use when they're too afraid to fight back. I wasn't about to play vigilante, but I wasn't about to roll over either. I upgraded my security, motion lights, cloud-backed cameras, signs warning of surveillance. I told my daughter to stay sharp. Still, the atmosphere changed. Miriam strutted around neighborhood events with her clipboard like a conquering general. Minor gripes turned into official warnings. At one HOA meeting, I laid out police reports and timestamps. She just smiled and said, "You're making enemies." That was her weapon. Intimidation. So I prepared. I called Marcus, an old friend, a contractor now, but once a soldier under my command. The kind of man who sleeps light and moves quiet. Together we checked my property, tightened blind spots, and set up a hidden feed aimed directly at the garage. We joked about living in a spy movie. Joked, because the alternative was letting fear win. But I was wrong. Cameras alone wouldn't stop what came next. Marcus and I were in the kitchen when a dull thunk echoed from the garage. The back camera lit up. 4 men in reflective vests, moving with purpose, prying at the door. Without a word, I went upstairs, opened the safe, and pulled 2 service pistols. One went at my back, hidden. Marcus caught my eye, no hesitation, no questions. Just a nod. We moved like we were back on deployment. Deliberate, controlled. The grinding of a pry bar echoed. Then voices, check the racks. Commander keeps unregistered weapons here. HOA wants them confiscated. Confiscated. My jaw tightened. Miriam had escalated from fines to staging a raid. The 4 of them wore cheap, HOA cop vests, dollar store badges swinging from lanyards. But the way they gripped crowbars and bolt cutters. That wasn't amateur. Marcus leaned close. They're geared for smash and grab. Not today, I muttered. I stepped into the doorway. Afternoon, gentlemen. They froze. The leader, clipboard in hand, puffed his chest. This is official HOA business. We've had complaints of hazardous materials. You're required to comply. I tilted my head. Calm, sharp. Hazardous materials. You broke into my garage. That's a felony. Marcus laughed. Authorized by who? Miriam. You clowns have no jurisdiction. That cut deep. One of them shifted nervously. They weren't expecting resistance. Then the smallest one lunged with a pair of cuffs, like he thought he could make a citizen's arrest. Bad move. Training kicked in. I twisted his wrist, slammed him face first to the concrete. Marcus grabbed another and smashed him into the toolbench. The last 2 charged, but we split clean. I dropped one with a forearm and sweep. Marcus folded the other with a throw and an elbow to the ribs. 4 down. Rattled. Breathing hard. I pressed the pistol barrel to the floor beside one's head. Listen carefully. Impersonating law enforcement is a federal crime. Breaking and entering is a felony. Add attempted assault, and you're all looking at prison time. The leader stammered. We were just following orders. Miriam said you were a threat. There it was. The rotten root. I holstered my pistol. Marcus, call it in. By the time deputies stormed the garage, the 4 were cuffed and moaning on the ground. My cameras had caught everything. The sheriff didn't waste words. You're all under arrest, for for impersonation, burglary, conspiracy, and armed trespass. And the cracks showed fast. One confessed to slashing my tires. Another admitted the windshield job. Their phones tied it all back to Miriam. She hadn't just encouraged it, she planned it. The neighborhood turned overnight. Families admitted they'd been fined, threatened, bullied. I wasn't her first target, just the biggest. I filed a lawsuit, harassment, property damage, punitive damages. We settled for $100,000, plus Miriam herself had to pay $15,000 out of pocket. In criminal court, her goons pled guilty. Probation, fines, permanent records. Miriam pled guilty to harassment and conspiracy. She lost her board position, was banned from any HOA involvement in the county, and fined $10,000. When it was over, I stood in my garage with Marcus. The walls felt heavier, but safer. Neighbors stopped to shake my hand, finally speaking up. The HOA was stripped of its fangs and rebuilt with oversight. They thought paperwork and intimidation gave them power. They thought they could raid my life. They didn't realize, I was an army commander.